All right, shalom, everybody. Shalom, shalom. Just excited to be near the Feast of Unleavened Bread, as everything is coming in, the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And I just want to talk about this for a minute today, and reach out to you all. And I'm just checking on here to get everything ready in case you guys have a few questions. And just want to mention a few things. It's very simple video, and just talk about a few things that I just think are really important about this festival. And one of them is just that everyone talks about the Passover a lot, and then there's not a lot of talk about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And this is what I hear personally. Maybe you all hear it differently, but just for me, from what I'm hearing, and of course the Passover, I mean, it's leading up to it, and the Passover is amazing. And it's because of the Passover that the children of Israel were set free. Because of the Passover sacrifice, the offering of the lamb, and then the painting of the blood of the lamb on their doorpost, basically on the outside of their house, and then actually eating the meal as outlined in the Torah very clearly what was supposed to be done. They had the bitter herbs, the lamb, the roasted lamb, and the matzah. And they ate this, and they were to be ready to leave, because this was the night they were to be delivered. And then from that time was the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So we're going to just take a quick look at it. We're going to look in Exodus 12 real quick, and just take a quick look at this. And we talked about the month of Aviv, and so this is once you know that you're in the right month and the right time. And it says in verse 6 of Exodus 12, you must care for it, this is the lamb, until the 14th day of this month, and the whole congregation of the assembly of Israel must slaughter it at twilight or between 2 evenings. And through doing a study on this, you'll understand that these 2 evenings is basically in the afternoon on the 14th day. So when the sun sets after the Passover sacrifice, you enter the first day of unleavened bread. It says they must take some of the blood and splash it on the 2 doorposts of the upper parts of the doorway of their houses in which they eat it. They must eat the meat on this night. They should roast it over the fire and eat it along with unleavened bread and bitter herbs or bitter greens. All right, so this was the original Passover, and this was the original, basically the order, the Seder. This is what was supposed to be done. And this is what the meal was, because each one of these things has significance. And, this is why the Almighty, he definitely commanded this. And it says, I'm just going to, you can read more for more details of how it was done. And verse 11 says, and this is how you should eat it, with the belt fastened and sandals on your feet and your staff in hand, and you should eat it in a hurry. It is Yehovah's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt on this night and strike every firstborn in the land of Egypt, a man and beast, or it's really in Hebrew, it's Mitzrayim, and I will execute judgment on all the gods of Mitzrayim. I am Yehovah. The blood will serve as your sign on the houses where you are, and I will see the blood and pass over you. And this is where you get the word Passover. It's Pesach. And the plague will not come on you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt or Mitzrayim. Verse 14, now we're going to get into this a little bit. This will serve as a memorial for you, and you must celebrate it as a festival to Yehovah throughout your generations, as a lasting statute you shall celebrate it. So an eternal statute, a lasting statute, this shall be celebrated. I'm just going to look at a little different translation here. It shall become this day for you a remembrance, and you shall celebrate it. It is a festival unto Yehovah. Chag le Yehovah. And it says, for your generations, hukat. It's a hukat olam. It is an eternal law, an eternal ordinance, that this should be celebrated. And this is why we are also excited about celebrating the Passover. And hallelujah. And then it says in verse 15, it says, so that as it says, it's a lasting statute, you shall celebrate it. And this is the Passover. Then it says, verse 15, 7 days you are to eat unleavened bread. Okay, so 7 days. Shivat yamim matzot. Then it's tochelu. It says, for 7 days, period, you shall eat matzah. Okay? And then it says, So it says here, 7 days you shall eat matzah. And yes, on the first day you are to remove the sourdough from your houses. So this is before the first day of matzah, but before this is you are to get before, as you're preparing, you are to get rid of this is actually sourdough. And in the Hebrew, it's like they also say in the other translation, on the previous day, you are to eliminate the soor. The soor is the leaven, and it's in this other translation I'm reading, they just call it sourdough because it's really sourdough starter, sourdough bread, and this is the sourdough starter that would make the bread HaMatzot. And it says anyone who eats HaMatzot is cut off from the people. That cut off shall that soul be from the people of Israel. For the first, okay, so this is a very important part, and a lot of people, get it. We love to clean our houses and consider that, to purge ourselves, and as we clean our house, we cleanse our hearts and realizing that there is parts of the leaven that was that it actually causes the bread to rise, and we don't want, there's pride, there's envy, there's ego, there's corruption. Anything that actually is a corrupting agent. Sin can be like leaven. There's different symbols, and we want to become a new loaf. We want to become new. So like people that would actually have sourdough bread, they love to keep it for years and years. But if you're an Israelite, you can't do that. You have to start with a new one after the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and this is the whole thing. And so there's a lot to go into leaven and how to cleanse your house of it, but do a thorough cleaning, and it's a beautiful thing to prepare your heart, your mind for Pesach, and then the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay, but it's so important that if someone were to eat leaven, with bread, that HaMatzot is actually cut off. This is such an eternal thing. And it says, let's see here. On the first day you will hold a holy convention. On the seventh day, a holy convention. That's what this translation says. No work is to be done on these days, only what every person needs to eat. They alone may be prepared for you. So you can make what you want to eat, but everything else, it's a time, it's a Shabbat. You are to rest. It's a holy convention or convocation, a mikra kodesh. Okay, so on the first day of unleavened bread, so you have the Passover, you get everything prepared, and you sit down in the evening on the 14th day, which takes you into the 15th day at sunset, and then you are in the Passover, and this starts the first day. It's a Sabbath. You wake up the next morning, it's still an extra Sabbath. It's a mikra kodesh. It's a holy convocation. You gather, you read scriptures, you study. We're excited to be doing it here. We have a great gathering. We're excited, and we pray that everyone we'll have some people to gather with. If you don't have people to gather with, remember the Father is there for you in the heavens, and so is His Son, and that we can call upon Him, and He's there for us even when we're all alone, and just ultimately that make some connection, reach out to someone that that you study with or have this connection with. Make a connection, brothers and sisters, the best way you can. But and then it says it's to be a holy time for us all. No work may be done except what's eating. And then it says in verse 17, in this translation, you must keep the festival of unleavened bread, for this very day I will bring your multitudes out of the land of Egypt, and you are to keep this day throughout your generations. It's a lasting statute. In the first of the month, on the 14th day of the month, in the evening, you are to eat unleavened bread till the 21st day of the month. In the evening, no sourdough is to be found in your houses for 7 days, or no chametz, because if anyone eats what is leavened, neither he nor the foreigner or a native of the land, that person must be cut off from the assembly of Israel. You should not eat anything leavened. In all your homes, you are to eat unleavened bread. So this is what I really wanted to talk about. It's very simple, but it makes a lot of sense. So first of all, you're not to eat sourdough. So part of the commandment is to not eat sourdough, but to also cleanse any leavened product, any leavening out of your house. And I don't have time to talk about all those things, but basically any wheat products or bread products that any processed food that's having these things could possibly be leavened. We're going to talk about matzah in a second. But I would even crackers, pasta, cakes, cookies, any processed food like that. And sprouted things can't, sprouted wheat and all these things that they don't count. And, because they are actually leavened, you have to get these things out. And so this is the training. And let's see here. So just to say, in the Hebrew, it literally says, you are ushmartem et HaMatzot. Okay? You shall safeguard the matzah. For in the midst of this day, I have taken out your armies from the land of Egypt. And then it says, ushmartem et hayom, and you shall observe this day for your generations as an eternal decree. So this is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You are to observe it. And what's interesting here is this. So one thing is, and if you go to Exodus 34, verse 18, it says, you shall observe. It says, let's see here, verse 18. It says, et Chag HaMatzot tishmor. You shall observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread, or guard it, eating matzah for 7 days. For 7 days you shall eat matzah, or matzot in the plural. Like literally in English, matzahs, unleavened breads. You shall eat this for 7 days at the set time of the month in Aviv. For the month of Aviv you went forth from Egypt. This is the bread of freedom. This is the bread of setting the children of Israel free. This is the Exodus bread. By eating this, we are participating. So one thing you are to do is not to eat any leavened products, not to possess any leavened products, not to have any sourdough starter, not to have any yeast, any yeast products, any kind of yeast, brewer's yeast, any of these things. And to get these things out of your life, this is the physical part. You have to purge out the spiritual leaven that's maybe the corrupting agents in your life that's causing puffed upness and these things. Also, the other commandment is, so let alone do you not eat leavened bread, you must eat leavened bread, matzah. So here, this is some special matzah from the land of Israel. This is guarded matzah, Shmurah Matzot. This is actually, you can look it up online, Shmurah Matzot. It's traditional handmade brown matzah from the land of Israel. And it just says here, the Torah tells us that when our ancestors departed from Egypt 3,000 years ago, or over 3,000 years ago, they left in such a haste that the dough they had prepared had no time to rise. They baked the dough that they brought out of Egypt into matzah, unleavened bread, and they were expelled from Egypt, and they brought to other provisions with them. In absolute faith, our ancestors marched off into the desert with no other provisions, relying on the Almighty to provide sustenance for the entire nation. Each year on Passover, when they fulfill the biblical injunction of matzah shall you eat, we bring to life the miraculous events of end time, commemorating the act of faith with the hope and expectation that of being next year will be in Jerusalem. So it says, the biblical name for Passover is Chag HaMatzot. So their Passover is what happens in the passing over the houses. Why? Because of the Pesach. The Pesach means to leap or jump or pass over. Pesach was the lamb, and so when the lamb sacrifice is called the Pesach offering. The Korban Pesach, the offering of the Passover lamb. It is. This is what happens just before the Feast of Unleavened Bread. When you begin to eat the Passover, you've begun the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is an amazing thing. The biblical name for Passover is Chag HaMatzot, the festival of matzah, because the central role of the matzah plays in the Seder, and they're going into it. Shmurah means literally guarded. Matzah is made from wheat and has been stringently guarded against any contact with water from the moment of harvest until baking. Contact with water could cause leavening, thus disqualifying its use on Passover. In ordinary matzah, the wheat is guarded only between the time of milling and baking. Shmurah matzot are round and are baked entirely by hand as they have been for the past 3,000 years. Traditionally, when the families get together, they eat this matzah. This is in the tradition. So, brothers and sisters, what I'm trying to say is, we don't want to have any leavened products. We don't know what the Israelites don't eat any leavened bread, but also Israelites, they must eat the matzah. Now, you can make matzah at home, and you also have to guard it and make sure that it's they basically say you have to be done from start to finish, from the time the water hits the flour, 18 minutes. It's got to be done. You got to guard it. You got to really make sure. It's very important, these commandments, and there's so many deep matters into it, but this is simple. So don't eat unleavened bread. I mean, don't eat leavened bread, eat unleavened bread. So sometimes people, they choose, and coming from a raw food background, people have a heart. They're not trying to eat flour products. They're not trying to eat. They want everything sprouted. They want to have, they'll have seeds. They'll have flax crackers and stuff like this and claim that that's matzah. But brothers and sisters, that's not matzah. If we not, the scriptures aren't up for private interpretation. And these things are very simple. So I just, I look forward to eat matzah for 7 days and with all my brothers and sisters worldwide. And if you make it for yourself at home, make sure you guard it yourself so that you don't get any store, any seor, or, and it doesn't become chametz, leaven. And these are things to consider. Read these scriptures for yourself and remember that we are to eat matzah for 7 days, unleavened bread. So you have no leaven products, but you do eat matzah. So that there's one thing you don't do. You don't have leaven or leaven products, nothing that's chametz. We get rid of that before the feast starts, but we do eat matzah 7 days. We bless the name of the Almighty. We bless Yehovah. He alone saves us. He alone has given us this provision. He alone told us to do this. So we do this because we love him. So again, sprouted grains, sprouted seeds, none of these things. Sprouted grains is literally chametz. It becomes leaven. That's soured. That's actually should never be done. But even the soaked flax and all these things that people are trying to do, I don't recommend that, and it doesn't count for matzah. The bread is the lechem. These things comes from these grains that were grown in the land of Israel. We have spelt. You have the barley. You have the wheat. These things are beautiful, and these are ancient practices. And so, brothers and sisters, let us keep the feast of matzah with joy, Chag HaMatzot, and see how beautiful this is. Teach our children about the freedom, about the Exodus, about all the blessings, about what the Most High has done. We're doing this because the Most High commanded us to. Teach them to love the Word, to love His commandments, and also let us just find the joy within it all. I'm so excited. This is such a blessed and holy time, and just so it's so incredible that we are all on this earth and able to participate in this. And such a simple thing to eat matzah for 7 days. And there's a quick question here, and shalom to everybody that's watching. What about fermented foods like kombucha? I mean, kombucha is literally not the seor, which is sourdough starter. So I think you can have kombucha, but you just wouldn't add that to your matzah to try to make bread because it could cause it to rise. That's my take on it. And just like you can have certain fermented things like wine, it's the fermentation of the grain is what we're watching out for. So you don't want to have leavened bread. So wine is, though there is a natural yeast in the wine that's tracted from the air, there's this fermentation is all around, but it's the bread that you don't want to be fermented. And so that's basically the thing. And so guard the matzah, guard it, guard the feast of matzah, and just wanted to just mention how important it is. And so, brothers and sisters, I'm excited. I got some of this from the land of Israel. It's a blessing. And if you have a chance to get some, I recommend it. If you can't get that and you make it for yourself, just make sure you guard it. Make sure you don't let it stay. Make sure that when you start the matzah, add the water and you're mixing the dough, that it's all the way done in 18 minutes. Make sure you guard it. These are important things, and they're simple, and there's such a lesson within it. And just sending a lot of love to everybody. Shalom, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. And I'm hope to come back here in like an hour and a half and do another little teaching here before the evening's over. So, if you all kind of keep your eye out. But love to everybody, and have a Chag Sameach, and let us rejoice as we eat matzah, the bread of freedom, and praising the Almighty for what He has done for the children of Israel. And as we eat it this year, we remember and we understand that the greater Exodus is to come. And I invite you all to go to Israel Promise right now. I'll put up a study from yesterday that we went over about the Seder, and we have a free Haggadah on our website. You can go download it. And anyways, there's a little teaching there, a little audio teaching from yesterday that you all might like to help get the families ready, get the mind ready for the Pesach and then the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Yah bless you all. Shalom, shalom.